Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Rhonda, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. David Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new teen therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. David is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. And welcome everyone to episode 161. We have the illustrious Brandon Vance and Heather Clague. Both of them are illustrious in our Murrieta studios today. We're going to do another semi-musical episode. This is called, we're going to be doing Disarming, which is one of the 5 secrets of effective communication. And we're going to be talking about the music behind the disarm. David,
yeah, listening to the music behind the words. Now, the disarming technique is one of the 5 secrets of effective communication. And so I'll post on the show notes, if you go to my website, feelinggood.com, you can link to this and any of the podcasts. There's a search function, so you can search for topics you want to hear podcasts or see blogs on. And if you put in 5 secrets of effective communication, you'll hear all the basic background teaching on the 5 secrets. But essentially, there are 5 techniques which, if you learn to use skillfully, they're incredibly helpful in developing more loving relationships with people and also resolving conflicts. They're called the Disarming Technique, Thought and Feeling Empathy, Inquiry, I Feel Statements, and Stroking, or EAR. They're empathy or listening techniques. The E is empathy, A is assertiveness, that's sharing your feelings, and R is respect, or showing warmth or caring for the other person, even in the heat of battle. But the hardest of all of these to learn, and by far the most powerful and important, is called the disarming technique. And people have tremendous trouble learning and comprehending this technique, but it's really worth extra effort because it can change your life. And what the disarming technique is that when you're under the fire of criticism, and it could be a therapist who's attacked by a patient, or it could be a parent who's criticized by a son or a daughter, or your spouse, could be a colleague, could be anyone. You find truth in the criticism, even if the criticism seems preposterous, illogical, or unfair. And it's based on what I call the law of opposites, which sounds impossible. But the law of opposites says that if you defend yourself from a wrong criticism, like let's say your spouse says, "You never listened," and so you want to defend yourself from that because you think that's unfair. And so you argue and defend yourself. Well, if you argue and defend yourself, you'll prove that the criticism is valid. And that's a paradox. And to bring that to life, let's say your spouse says, "You never listen," and you say, "Well, that's ridiculous. I'm listening to you right now. You just said you never listen." And that's arguing with the other person. And when you respond defensively, you prove that what they're saying is right, because once again, you're not listening, you're not hearing what they're trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you something that's true. And if you argue with their words, you'll just prove that they're right. And the other side of the paradox is that if you genuinely agree with a criticism that appears to be preposterous, or to have no truth at all, and you genuinely and immediately agree with it, and it comes from the heart, the moment you agree with a false criticism, it won't be true anymore. So let's say your spouse says, "You never listen," you could agree with that by saying it, and I'll use some of the other 5 secrets too, but the important thing is to agree with it, to say, it's painful for me to hear what you're saying, because You're right. I've been really defensive lately, and I've been arguing with you and defending myself, and I haven't been hearing what you've been trying to tell me. And I can imagine you're feeling so hurt and angry and frustrated. It's particularly painful for me because I love you, and I hate seeing that about myself. And with that in mind, can you tell me more about what it's been like for you and what I've been doing and saying that really hurts your feelings and pushes you away? How would that sound?
Dang, sounds pretty good.
Wonderful, yeah.
And the paradox there is by agreeing that you're not listening, you are listening. But it's hard for people because it sometimes involves the death of the ego or the death of the self. You have to look at yourself and see that the criticism really is true. And you have to have the intelligence as well as the determination and willingness to hear the music behind the words. That's why we linked this with last week's podcast. And did you guys sing the 5 secret song?
We didn't last week.
Oh, well, maybe we'll do it at the end of this podcast because Brandon and Heather have a brilliant and fantastic song on the 5 secrets of effective communication. But
today what we're going to do is we're going to do a Disarm round robin. So Dr. Burns, David, Heather, and Brandon, they don't know, but I have collected a bunch of criticisms that I've put in an envelope, and I'm going to pull them out randomly, and they're going to disarm them. I might do a couple too.
I was just going to ask.
we're going to take turns, right?
They won't let me get away with it, so we're all going to take turns. David, will you do the first one?
Sure, and then should we give our 3-level feedback? Here's your letter grade. Here's what I liked. Here's what we liked and disliked, and here's how it could be improved. And so we're going to try to give each other impossible criticisms, and then we have to try to agree with them. And
we're going to allow each other to fail, and there's no pressure to be perfect.
Yeah.
Although you are on the
Except
podcast,
on a
that thousands of
podcast,
people
exactly.
So, and I did describe you as illustrious.
So
okay, David, ready?
So you have criticisms, and this is for me?
Yes, I'll say it.
Okay.
David, you're too needy, and you're really not worth my time.
Wow, that's painful to hear that. That's really true of me. Sometimes I act really needy. In fact, I think I sometimes do that to manipulate people.
Oh.
And you remember just before the podcast, I said I needed some ice water. And Heather kindly went up and got it for me.
No, Heather, I did.
Oh, you did. And
not that I'm competing with Heather.
And that was that was kind of needy and self-centered and probably pretty darn irritating.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So how did I do?
I thought I let Brandon and Heather. What grade do you think you gave them?
I was giving you an A until the ice water. I liked that you seemed very genuine in terms of how it affected you. Like, you took it in, and it clearly it hurt you to hear that criticism. And then you really considered, and you also did something, which is you found the specific truth. So I think the criticism was you're so needy, which is kind of an overgeneralization. And then you said, there are times when I can be needy. Yeah.
That's one of the many ways, I'm glad you brought that up, that of the art form of learning the disarming technique is to find the specific truth in it. Because, see, when people attack you, it's often some exaggerated thing. So you want to defend yourself. Yeah. Well, it's not true that I'm always needy, but there are times that I act needy. And it is kind of manipulative and unloving, and and ends up kind of using people. And then once you acknowledge that it isn't true anymore, because you're not being needy and using someone.
Okay, let's do the next one.
I also think it was. I liked that you said I can sometimes be manipulative. I think for me, when I'm responding to a criticism, sometimes I get defensive, and in that part of the defensiveness, what I'm trying to defend against is really the truth in the criticism.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what I want to admit about myself.
Yes,
like
right.
that I can be manipulative or things like that.
Yeah.
I think that's...
So there's really a moment of self-acceptance that's
you
happening
have to
there.
accept yourself. And so a way to test it is then you ask someone to rub it in. Heather say, so David, so you admit that you're often manipulative.
David, you're acknowledging that you can be needy and manipulative?
Yes, I do it all the time now that I think about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that one little sentence has brought out so much really important information.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to be willing to accept yourself, and that's the death of the self. And when your self is dead, then it's easy to agree with criticisms and to get close to people. But it's when you're struggling for life that you suffer. Once you're dead, you join the Grateful Dead.
All right. Okay, Heather, I just found out you're dating my old boyfriend. I don't think I can be your client.
Well, it's true. I am dating him. We're in a relationship, and
he's told me I'm a lot cooler than you were.
we talk about you all the time. No. Am I allowed to ask circumstances, the scenario? Do I just make them up?
No, you have to make it up.
Okay.
No, I'm your patient, and I say to
Did I know that you were his boyfriend? Did I agree to take you as a therapy patient when I knew that?
I don't know yet.
That's where we need the details here. That's why if it was real, it would be better than made up stuff.
Well, okay, it's real, and you didn't know.
Okay. So I just came out this session.
It just came out. I just found out that you were dating my ex-boyfriend.
There's a plug in the back. You can unplug the phone.
Okay.
No, you didn't know.
So am I just learning for the first
You're
time?
just learning for the first time.
So you're telling me that I'm dating someone that you used to date?
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty shocked and upset to hear that, because the therapy relationship is sacred, and I would want you to feel like this space is 100% for you. And so to find out that I'm dating someone that you used to date, I would think would make you feel massively unsafe. And I'm feeling pretty terrible about how this is affecting your experience here with me right now. I'm wondering how you're feeling. I can imagine you feeling betrayed or violated. Is that right?
So what grade did you give that?
Well, I would give that an A. I think that Heather showed a lot of compassion for her patient, and was really clear about her boundaries in terms of the therapy session being sacred, and was concerned more about my feelings and her feelings, and invited discussion.
I would have given it an A. To give it an A+, I would make a small fine-tuning at the end.
Oh, wait. Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Did I do what every therapist in the universe does?
Yeah.
Can I try take two?
Yeah.
And I can imagine you must be feeling incredibly angry at me right now. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's huge. And that would bring it up. And then another tiny thing to bring it up, to say, it's painful for me to hear this, because I really do care about you a lot. And but maybe this is a chance to deepen our relationship, and maybe you can tell me if maybe there's other things that I've done or said that hurt your feelings or made you feel unsafe here. This is incredibly important. What you're saying. Tell me about it. How's that?
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh, I really like that. I mean, because it really may be true that there might be a lot of other things or some other things that the person's upset about that might be fueling that too, even though that's a big thing to be upset about.
Although, if I found out my therapist was dating my ex, I think that's kind of the only thing I would want to talk about. I think my reaction to that would be like, why are you distracting from the... I mean, I think in general that's true, that often the complaint is the tip of the iceberg. In this one in particular, it feels like, I don't know, I could be off base.
Okay. And you don't have to do all 5 secrets if you don't want to, because we're just practicing disarms. But that was beautiful, all 5 secrets. And I think that deserved all 5 secrets because it was such a difficult one. And Brandon, you ready?
Yeah.
I thought we were all going to pull them out of an envelope, including you.
No.
And that you would have to do it too.
No, I'm the host and I'm in charge.
Okay.
Sweet.
Brandon,
I used to be the head of the Feeling Good podcast. Right,
yeah. But then you got a really kick-ass host.
David. That's right.
You can be the head next week. Brandon, I don't know if this is helping me because therapy is just for rich white people.
Wow. You're saying some really important things there. I mean, and when you say that this isn't helping you and therapy is just for rich white people, I mean, it makes me think that you're really right. I mean, this hasn't been giving you what you need. And also, I wonder if I've been communicating, and I probably have, that there's something that's privileged about therapy, and that I might not be really attending to you and seeing some of the deeper parts of you, and not really connecting with those. And I think that's not doing you a service. And so I'm really glad that you're bringing it up, because I feel sad that I'm not giving you what you need in this therapy. And I think you bringing that up also gives us a chance to talk about that, at least get that on the surface and see what we can do about it. And so I'm wondering, I want to hear a bit more about what you've been feeling. What's been behind this? What are some of the feelings that you're having right now?
That was great. What grade did you give yourself there?
Give myself a B there.
I kind of give him a B too.
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
How could, a lot of it was really, really beautiful.
It was very heartfelt.
Yeah.
But I think in the Disarm, don't criticize me like I'm criticizing you, but
give her a real swapper here in a minute.
Yeah.
I think there wasn't that kind of acceptance. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, therapy has been kind of integrated into the white privileged community. It is really accepted.
Yeah.
I mean, with white people are always going to therapy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's less accepted into, people of color, the culture of people of color. But everybody suffers and everybody has pain. And I'm hoping to be able to meet your needs within this process. And it is expensive. It is. And I'm happy to talk to you about the
fact that I was planning to raise the fee. Sorry, I shouldn't do that.
But anyway, that's what I would say. You're right. It is expensive.
I also thought that there were a couple things. What is one emotion that no therapist...
Anger. Yeah, I didn't mention anger. I realized that after two.
Never acknowledge anger.
But just remember, we're only practicing disarms. We're not doing all 5 secrets.
Well,
it would have helped, though.
I think let us do our thing here and give some feedback. Another thing is that what he's saying is that you're racially biased against me.
Right.
And you didn't bring that up. You talk in generalities.
Yeah.
And often we do that because we don't want to hear the truth of the music. That's the music behind the words.
Yeah.
But again, it was very kindly what you did. It wasn't threatening, so you create a safe environment. But it might be to say, it's so painful for me to hear what you're saying, but I really agree with you. I've sensed it too, like somehow I'm not communicating warmth and acceptance or connecting with you, like I'm the rich white person and you're the poor black person, and I've probably been projecting some kind of racial bias, and I'm lucky you even came back here to tell me how I've been missing the boat. And as painful as this is for me to hear, this might be a chance for us to develop a deeper relationship. Most people don't ever have these conversations because I feel ashamed, I feel embarrassed, and yet I'm excited because this could really help us hit the ball out of the park. And with that in mind, tell me what I've done or said that's been so irritating to you. Tell me about the anger and hurt you're feeling and the disillusionment. I'm eager to hear what you have to say. It's important.
Yeah.
How's that?
I really liked that. Yeah, and I think speaking directly to that complaint about race and racism is super important. And I also think checking in right after that, like, is that what what you're feeling? Because for me as a white man, I don't know, like I can guess, but I think really the moment of really staying on the same page and checking in is so important and lets me be on the more.
Why don't we want to say, I guess I've been projecting racial bias to you. Why don't we want to say that?
Well, we don't want to admit that we're racist.
Yeah,
that we can have racist.
Why not?
it's painful. It's not our self-image. We want to protect our ego.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why the disarming technique is not something trivial. It's not a trick with words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why the death of the ego is not a trick with words either. To hear what someone is saying. I had to give a workshop in not San Antonio, but what's the place where the attack was?
El Paso.
El Paso, I think it was
In Texas.
El Paso, or maybe it was San Antonio, or it was someplace in Texas, and I was talking about 5 secrets and everything, and it was a fairly small workshop. And then at the break, I got a written question that said that I was racist in what I'd been saying against Mexican Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so shocked. It was just devastating. I couldn't believe it. I was at the break, and I was saying to a couple other people, "Look, what am I supposed to do?" And they said, "Well, just use the stuff you've been teaching us." So I said, "Oh yeah, right." So I read it out loud, and I said it was so painful for me to see this. I know the person who wrote it is the head of the blah blah blah, Mexican American, whatever organization. So I know what you're talking about, and I don't even know what I said that conveyed racial bias, but I just want you to know how painful it is for me to see that I've made that mistake, and that's so hard for us to talk about these things because we don't want to admit that we've got a racial bias, and I just have to thank you for writing this and for telling me this. And then she just started raising her hand and just saying wonderful things and gave me the most glowing workshop evaluation. But it's very hard because you don't want to stand in front of an audience and say, "Oh yeah, I am a racist." Who wants to do that?
No one wants to do that, and no one wants to admit it. But there is a bit of truth in that for everyone.
Yeah.
I actually like the way because you could reframe "I am a racist" as a kind of globalizing, totalizing, and the other thing is that we will all have racist thoughts, and we will all probably do things that have hurtful impact towards people of other races. So again, it's acknowledging the specific seems so important.
Yeah, that's the specific is one of the things that saves you because you don't have to agree to some global label because the global label is meaningless, but I've definitely done some things or said or done some things that hurt your feelings and were poor taste or conveying racial stereotypes or something, and tell me what it is. It's painful for me to see this.
But what a gift that someone is willing to give you that feedback so that you can learn and have less hurtful impact in the future.
If you use the disarming technique, people will be more willing to be open with you, too, because they'll feel less threatened. That's something I've got a long way to go. Well, it's a topic for another day.
Okay, so then we're changing the rules, and everybody can do all 5 secrets, not just the disarm.
Yeah.
We've already been, right? Change the rules to fit what's been happening.
It's David's podcast. That's what he wants to do. That's what we're going to do.
Sure, but what is the point of hearing the music behind the words? What are we trying to tell our listeners here?
That we don't have to just regurgitate back what someone has told us, but what is the feeling behind what they're saying in the moment?
The truth. What's the
behind
truth?
it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's partly there's the difference between thought empathy and disarm. So thought empathy is really stating what the person's been saying, usually using their own words. Whereas disarm is finding what's beneath that, what's really true about what they've been saying, what's their complaint really about.
Yes.
And speaking to that, owning that, and then checking in with them if you've got it right.
Yeah.
Asking them to say more.
Yeah, and there's always total truth in what they're saying. The criticism they're levying at you, no matter how illogical it seems, is always totally true. And the moment you agree with it in a humble, genuine way, it won't be true anymore. It's like a miracle. And I'm saying these things, and they might go in one ear and out the other. Yeah. But this is like a change in your life once you grasp this. This isn't like a trick with words or something.
Do you want to read the one to me? I just pulled it out of the hat.
This is the one you selected?
No, I randomly
non-random selection. of an easy one for Rhonda.
I just ran. If you don't like it, I'll pick another one.
Well,
here.
Okay, I know I'm really funny, but we spent all my time in therapy laughing at my jokes and not getting any better. And you know, I'm paying you to help me, and you're not helping me now, are you? And there you go again, you know, laughing at my jokes.
No, I'm sorry. You know, that's 100% true. You know, you are really funny, and I do laugh at your jokes. And because I'm laughing at your jokes, we're not getting down to the work of therapy and what you came for. And I'm not helping you. And I imagine you're feeling really angry at me, and but also disappointed and maybe even kind of disgusted because this kind of defense that you have created, I'm falling right into it, and I'm not. It's not fair. I'm sitting next to him while you're writing notes.
So what just happened, Rhonda, that you left out?
David's writing negative notes.
Defense that you've created. You sit patient.
Okay, let's just stop right there. And I'm feeling really embarrassed that I'm laughing at your jokes and avoiding dealing with, and I'm not paying attention to what you need. But I'm super happy that you brought it up, even though it sounds kind of weird to say that. I'm happy you brought up this criticism because, you know, I'm hoping that you can tell me more about what your thoughts and feelings and experiences are, and how I have failed you this way and other ways, so that we can, you know, improve our relationship and we can get and we can get to the place of, you know, being able to do work. Okay.
No, I thought that was good. I have this devious mind. I was just saying.
Your eyes are rolling.
I'm sorry.
Your body language
I was just saying.
Oh my God.
Just say, but if we can't work this out, at least we
fun.
can continue having fun, and I'm making good money. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is the evil David.
I should have sit next to you next time.
No, but I thought that was excellent. We'll see what our colleagues here thought.
Someone actually, all of these actually have been said. They're all real.
Yeah, someone has said
random.
that to you.
Yeah, someone actually did say that.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought you completely disarmed it. You used feeling empathy to talk about what the patient was feeling. And then you talked about your own feelings of embarrassment, and it didn't seem totally genuine because you were laughing through the whole thing. But
it does take a little bit from the genuineness. Yeah.
The only thing where the fine tuning that I would get, you said, I feel really happy that you told me. And I think I might have said, I feel really ashamed to hear this, but I'm so grateful that you told me.
Right, exactly.
Because what a tremendous opportunity this is for us to connect at a deeper level. And I was beginning to wonder, too, if there was too much laughter and not enough genuine work, and you're hurting. I was going to say you're hurting a lot about your serial killing. We're going to get terrible ratings for this podcast, but I know that you're hurting a lot, and I'd like to work with you to on a deeper level and see if I can.
Okay, I'm going to let everybody pick their own this round.
Okay, so this is one directed against me now.
Yeah,
I have to be.
I'd have thought about one of the previous ones.
Yeah.
The one that I didn't do as well on it, and then your response, David, which I thought was really, really helpful and effective. There was part of it where you said, but I'm, and it's like I'm the rich white therapist and you're the poor black person, And I think just the thing I wanted to put out there was that if the person is poor, or if you're talking about that as the kind of the cultural dynamic, but then of course if they aren't, then they could feel really stereotyped and just by that comment. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be so careful. Words are so powerful.
Yeah.
And the meaning behind your words too.
Yeah.
But just say maybe I'm the white guy and I'm projecting racial prejudice against you, the black guy, and I've sensed tension going on between the two of us. I couldn't figure it out. Now I can see it's because I've been projecting other than warmth and respect. And it's so painful for me to hear this, and yet I'm grateful that you're telling me. Tell me the things I've done or said that have hurt your feelings and angered you and turned you off. What a chance this is for us to develop a deeper relationship. And as painful as it is, I'm so grateful that you came in today to tell me. You could have just not come back. And I really owe you a great deal. How's that?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I mean, I picture myself being in someone's shoes, hearing that, and just relaxing. Yeah. After being really tense and angry.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
See, the paradox is when you admit that you're no good, you're not no good anymore. You're suddenly a hero in the eyes of the person. Yeah. And we're joking around on this podcast, and I joke around sometimes too much. But this is what the big problem in the whole world today is, that no one's willing to look at their own role, and everyone's blaming everyone else and arguing and defending. And you see it on TV, and CNN is attacking Trump, and then Fox attacks CNN, and everyone is saying you're wrong, which comes to the one I have to do here. The statement I'm being told to me is, you keep talking about God, Trump, and Obama, and I don't like it. And to tell you the truth, I have been doing that, and it's painful for me too. It's exhausting, and it's not showing any real respect for you either. I've been kind of on my high horse, preaching from the top of the mountain, and you're probably so pissed off at me. I was actually enjoying all my preaching, and not noticing how uncomfortable it's been for you. Tell me about it. You're probably feeling angry and hurt and ticked off at me. I really want to hear what you have to say.
I'd give that an A.
Yeah, why?
Because you accepted the criticism, and you acknowledged that I was ticked off, and you gave me an invitation to tell you more about it.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the listeners are saying, but what if the criticism isn't true? How are you going to answer that? How do I agree with
there is always a kernel of truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the person is psychotic, you've talked about these before, they might think that I've implanted a chip in their tooth that's recording their every thought, and then I'm selling that. What would you do,
Brandon, if someone said to you, I heard you planted a chip in my tooth and you're recording all of my thoughts?
Yeah, and, my gosh, when I hear you say that, I'm realizing that I really have not been making you feel safe. I've been not attending to your safety, and maybe even intrusive. I've been as if I were like recording your thoughts. I've been asking you all these questions, and I can only imagine you'd be really upset with me. Maybe pretty angry and pissed off with me at that, and I would be too if I were in your shoes. I'm feeling kind of both shocked when I hear you say that, and sad, and also I'm appreciative of you bringing that up. I mean, it's so important that you're telling me that. I wonder how you're feeling, how you're doing.
What was that?
That was A+, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so glad you brought up that example, because it's a perfect example of hearing the music behind the statement. Like, you wouldn't say, oh yes, you're right, I am planting a radio transmitter in your tooth, but you said exactly.
But you heard the metaphor, right? Which is, it's true. If you're doing a psychiatric evaluation on someone, you're going to be asking them to say super vulnerable. It probably does feel like you're prying in their head, and so you really.
And you can say, I just feel exactly the same way. I feel like I'm just recording, asking you questions and recording what you're saying. It's been pretty annoying to me too, and I'm embarrassed because I want to connect with you as a human, on a deeper level. And that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I like that, because it's taken a deeper level than my response.
Well, yours was awesome.
What if, David, let's say you said that, and they said, no, you really are. You're recording my thoughts. You're not hearing me. What would you say then if they came back?
Well, that's easy. There's a fantastic way to respond, and Heather will know. But before we model the answer, when someone responds like that, it's always because you hadn't done a good job.
Yeah.
So then you just try it again with a good job.
You're right. I'm definitely not hearing you. You've said that I've been recording your thoughts, and I'm not getting you. I'm not understanding you, and I can imagine you must feel so misunderstood and hurt and incredibly angry. And can you tell me more about what I've done to hurt you and to put you off? I feel
what
terrible.
grade do you give yourself?
Oh, I don't know that I got every secret in there. I thought I was on the way to B+ to an A.
I thought it was in the A range. I think if you'd done some stroking, it would have been an A+.
Yeah.
And just say it's particularly painful because I have a tremendous liking and respect for you. And I feel kind of ashamed and sad that I'm letting you down. At the same time, what a wonderful chance for us to develop a deeper relationship. And tell me about, and I thought mentioning the anger was just awesome. Tell me what this relationship has been like for you. I've sensed some tension also, and I'm glad you brought it up, but it's painful. It's I feel kind of like I'm implanting chips in your tooth too. I don't feel like I'm a colleague who's providing warmth or caring or understanding or support the way you want and the way I want. How's that?
That's good. Yeah, that really, I mean, that extra part about I feel like I'm implanting chips in your tooth too, and that I don't feel like I'm being somebody who's caring. I think that really, made me feel relaxed or more heard.
Well, our time is unfortunately very, very short here, and time flies when you're having fun.
I know, this was awesome. I think we hit so many major points. I'm really glad Heather and Brandon were here with us again.
Yeah. If you want to learn like the 5 secrets and the disarming technique, three things are required. Because it's not going to come automatically. First is you have to have a tremendous desire to do it, to develop more loving relationships with family or better relationships with your patients. You have to be very hungry for that to pay this kind of price. When I learned the disarming technique, or when I created it, it was hard for me to learn. I spent 2 months working 30 minutes every day just on the disarming technique. What would I say if a patient said this? What would I say if a patient said that? And it really took me 2 months to get good at it. The second thing is you have to be willing to experience the death of the ego, the death of the self, in order to develop more loving relationships with others. And with that in mind...
I think we're going to end with Heather and Brandon singing the 5 Secret song after you tell us about the workshops that are coming up.
And I'll be very quick because there's only one left this year as of today's podcast, and that's November 4th to 7th in Atlanta, Georgia, the last intensive of the year. So if you want to go and get CE credits, learn how to do team therapy, and do a lot of personal work for yourself, that's high-speed treatment of depression and anxiety disorders. Go to my website, feelinggood.com, click on the workshop tab, and now there you'll get the link for registration and all the details. And now for some beautiful, beautiful
Just want to say how
music.
highly recommended David's intensive workshops are. They have changed my life.
My life too, personally and professionally.
Yeah.
My life too. It actually has.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a song that Brandon and I performed at the most recent South San Francisco intensive. She used the 5 secrets. Madder than angry, oh was I. Pissed and unhappy, I could cry at the start. She used the 5 secrets. She spoke my words to empathize. She guessed my feelings, oh she tried from the heart. How could I stay harmed when she so skillfully disarmed? How could I want to fight when she asked Did I get it right with my 5 secrets? She told me plainly how she felt. Her stroking made my whole heart melt into tears, and I still hear her 5 secrets in my ears. The 5 secrets, now I have learned to use them to give up blame and follow through and face my fears. And I practice my 5 secrets with my dears. I love the 5 secrets.
Me too!
Conflict fuels intimacy. Not about me, but about we. It's more sincere. So with the 5 secrets, let love